Next one comes from Don DeVore. And it's in response to Fantom version 2.1. Make the offer intriguing. A video I did in December 2021. And this was all about, they just recently released the version 2.1 software on the Fantom, and the Fantom is becoming far more flexible in terms of what it can deliver. They've really sort of kind of tried to steal the march on the Kronos, I think, now. Anyway, Don writes, Fantom owner here. It's a delicious sounding thing, but it's super annoying too. Yes, the converters are amazing sounding. The synthesizer section is powerful and amazing sounding. The sequencer is limited in functionality, but once you get used to it, it's fast to work with. But it always stops playback to perform any editing or save write functions. I'm guessing it's just accustomed to DAW workflows that don't have any stop playback. The tone wheel organ is pretty good, but Logic EVB3, which I think is the Hammond organ, is better. I like the modal expansions: Jupiter 8, the Juno 106, the JPX P8, and the SH101. It can be loaded up with thousands of patches and hundreds of scenes. It's a joy to play for the sound quality and build quality. Bugs. I've never been able to get my unit to run as a DAW controller or area link connecting to the MX1 mixer USB output. I don't recommend for DAW control, even if it worked. Get a dedicated DAW MIDI controller. Do you know what? I've just answered a question. I said exactly the same thing about the System 8. Annoying stuff. The faders and knobs take over the screen function while showing you parameter change, preventing you from triggering the sequence clips or using any other touchscreen functions for a few seconds, breaking my workflow. Neat stuff. The pads can be used to change patches. That is quite cool. Perform mute and solos. Select on or turn on and off individual partials within the tone. Play samples, trigger clips. The pads have 11 different modes but are not velocity sensitive. Cost cutting, methinks, by Roland. The faders and knobs can be mapped to CCs for controlling internal sounds and external MIDI devices or VSTs. Pretty cool, but a little fidgety to get editing and assigning it into the touchscreen. Fantom was released in 2019, so Roland may support it for 5 to 8 years. I would hope. They dropped the System 8 after about 3 years, which is also buggy and crashy sometimes. The Fantom is a killer synth, but it has many caveats as a workstation. Spending some time playing one at a music store, but don't expect it to do everything, be a do everything synth. Cheers. Some really interesting insight into the Fantom. Now, I don't own a Fantom. I have looked at a Fantom several times, but really I can't justify it at the moment, being broke, buying a Fantom, given the fact I have an Oasis and a Kronos, and they pretty much give me everything I want. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. So, in the first sentence of your response, I could substitute the word Kronos. I honestly could, for Fantom, and have the same sentiments. That said, I have not had a chance to deep dive into Fantom. COVID got in the way. I haven't been to the music shops. I haven't played with it. And being broke, I just don't feel... I feel if I went and played with it, I'd want one, and then that would cause me to try and buy one, and then I'm broke. So, I don't know. But it's always good to get honest feedback. That's the way I feel. Is when if you guys out there have a synth that I talk about, and you've got the synth and you have your own views, it's very similar to the when I did a review of the Poly 61. Everybody piled in and said you made such a hash of it. You know, why did you do it? And it was, I didn't have enough time with the Poly 61. But people who understood this synth said how beautiful it was, and I just wasn't getting that experience when I played the synth. And that was probably a lot to do with my lack of understanding of the synth in the first place. But it also has a number of, you know, foreballs that the sounds and the beauty that was being described wasn't what I was experiencing. In terms of a door controller and reference to my Kronos, the layout works well for internal functions, but not so well for external door. So if I'm working with this internal sequencer or sampler, the way the Kronos is laid out, and to that the OS is laid out, are really good for the internal functions, but they just don't map to any door environment. There is always compromise, and with compromise the compromise is always the thing you want to use it for. That's my experience anyway. I said in another video recently that I dedicated that either a dedicated MIDI controller or one aimed at a specific door, a door controller, would always make a better option than trying to remap the faders and keys on a synthesizer to a door just to make it operate as a surface. In terms of the ARIA link, I suspect Roland would need to make code tweaks to the MX1 firmware to allow the Fantom to operate correctly. And this is one of the things about the MX1. So many people get in touch about the MX1, and we get into sort of a debate about, you know, what is the MX1 really there for? And it kind of, it does a lot of things, but does nothing really particularly well. You know, it's meant to be a USB mixer to support area and boutique. It doesn't really do that well. It's meant to be a DJ mixer, and it kind of does that, but doesn't do that well either. Sorrento, the Roland DJ 800 will do a better job. That's what I think anyway. So there's lots of things it kind of wants to do, but it doesn't do. And I think Roland should go back to the drawing board and release the MX2 with, you know, instead of just having 4 USB inputs, having 10 USB inputs and multiple faders, and, you know, making it say a 16 input mixer that is really dedicated to the way Roland are releasing instruments at the moment. That would be what I would say to Roland is, you know, you've got something that doesn't work particularly well, cut your losses, release the next version of that particular mixer brand, but make it actually function with everything you're releasing. Make it completely USB compatible with the Fantom and the Jupiters and everything else, so that they can all be used through this sort of weird and funky mixer that you've got. You know, the Fantom won't work really well with because there's been no MX1 software upgrade. The Jupiter is the same. You know, it's kind of hit and miss whether it works or it doesn't. Now there was the last patch that was put on the MX1 did make a number of things work, but they don't work particularly well. That's kind of my take on this. But it's always great to get feedback, and thank you very much, Don, for yours.